Hello there, people.
And hello. Welcome back to Toilet Paper Fortune Cookie, a podcast.
A podcast.
Unorthodox wisdom from an unexpected reality. Matt Stocke, will you tell them what that means?
You bet, David Stringer. If only after 4 months we had figured out what that means. But we're still giving it a shot. And what we've come here to do is discuss all aspects of entrepreneurship, of creating opportunities, making our way through this wacky business world, given the crazy landscape that we've all been given, and how that is changing day by day by day. It's to just get the big ideas out there. That was our idea at the beginning, to start talking about how we're going to make it through this. What's the big idea, and how the ideas of entertainment, about entrepreneurship, all those things are going to start melding together and moving forward. And we hope that you've enjoyed it. We hope that you are getting something out of it. I think that with the changing landscape of the world every day, everybody's having to come up with new ideas, and we're doing our best. And we hope that you're enjoying what we're talking to you all about.
And if you have enjoyed it, and this is our 13th episode, which hey, fantastic. That's awesome, right? I mean, this wasn't a one and done. We did 13 of these, and we have decided that this is going to cap our season one of Toilet Paper Fortune Cookie. And we've got a great guest on today, Alice Geiger. We'll bring her on in just a few minutes. So go out and subscribe. We got a subscriber today.
Nice.
His name, dang it, I meant to put it on my screen so I wouldn't forget. I think his name was Jason Taylor. And Jason, if you're listening to this, you should take a screenshot of your subscription of Toilet Paper Fortune Cookie, post it into our group, and we will send you the Knowledge Perk Club number that will afford you an awesome discount on some great coffee, which is our sponsor, Knowledge Perk. So go out, subscribe. We are on podcast platforms. We had a great episode last week with Don Johnson. That episode was live. We dropped it on YouTube. It's out on podcast. And you, by now, have seen a little special snippet, which was like episode 12.5, which would have dropped last week when you see this. And so go out and watch all those episodes.
Yes, and we, Dave and I, are very proud that the network gave us all 13 episodes out of our first package. So
That's right.
So what they sign on for.
So Matt, give us a preview of your project that you're going to start. And you've made the decision to create your own podcast, which I totally support. I think it's awesome what you're about to do. So talk a little bit about that for us.
It's been born out of TPFC, which is when David and I started this thing. We had everybody was kind of in the same boat back in March, and we were just kind of figuring out moment by moment by moment. And we've come to a point now with the country so much in flux that a lot of what's happened in our world here in New York City, luckily the COVID problem has essentially been nullified, knock on everything. However, rebuilding the economy, and especially rebuilding my particular industry, the theater industry, the entertainment industry, is going to be the last thing that happens here. We've talked about this a bit. But what I've discovered over the last 5, 6, 7 weeks is a lot of people asking me, since David and I have created this sort of voice for us and talking to our various tribes of people, asking me to address a lot of the things that are of major concern to us right now moving forward. And that can be everything from our emotional health, talking about where a job's going to come from talking about our union, which is in a very tenuous state, our health insurance, which is very tenuous, and people have a lot of things they want to discuss that are sort of secondary to what David and I have been discussing about our ideas for business moving forward, where most people right now in my industry can't really wrap their heads around how are we moving forward in our industry. We don't know if our if our unemployment funds are lasting beyond 2 weeks from now. So there's a lot of concerns happening in our world that people wanted to have a forum to talk about.
Awesome.
And so I decided to call it "The World Still Spins," which is a lyric from Hamilton. But thank God I found out that it's not copyrighted. You can't copyright a lyric. So that's good. Well, John Bolton wrote a book called "The Room Where It Happens," which he basically just stole it off of Lin-Manuel. So if you can do that, I can use "The World Still Spins." But
so and where will they find this? Are you setting up your own?
Start out on, it's going to be Facebook Live, and then I'll figure out how to get it out to more people. But basically, what the format is going to be is a couple times a week I'll do a Facebook Live, and I'm going to bring on one of my friends.
Yeah.
Anybody who I just reach out to and say, "What do you want to discuss?" And they're going to be pretty universal topics to things that are kind of germane to what we're dealing with right now, and just try to put as much good mojo into this town and into our business as possible. So we'll see if we can lift ourselves up a bit. So
well, I'm excited for you. I'm excited for how you have, and it's a combination of this show, and it's also I think it's a big part of your live broadcasts from the roof.
Yeah.
And each night going out, and that consistency and your positive message. So all the blessings in the world from TPFC to go out and bring positive energy out into the world where there's so much negative energy right now. So
that's what I'm going to do my best, and just maybe lift some spirits. And then the ultimate goal is season 2 of TPFC. I hope I have a whole bunch of shit to talk about. I hope I've got 7 different business ventures going on. I really hope that that's what we can revisit in a couple of months and see where we're all at. So looking forward to it. Cool. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
Hey, absolutely. So we're going to take a quick break and hear from our sponsor, Knowledge Perk, and some weird dude who just woke up with bedhead. And then we're going to come back with our guest, Alice Geiger. So we'll be right back after these messages.
Hi, don't be afraid. It's just me, David Stringer behind the scenes. Mad scientist? No, just bedhead, before all of the magic happens. And like all entrepreneurs who are relentless, we need our energy, and mine is Knowledge Perk Coffee. I love their burn rate because it helps me power through my morning until second breakfast.
What, you don't eat 2 breakfasts?
Knowledge Perk can ship anywhere in the world, and you can subscribe and have it delivered as often as you like. And not only will you be getting the best coffee you've ever tasted, you'll also be supporting a company that supports the community. We at Toilet Paper Fortune Cookie are proud to have Knowledge Perk as our sponsor, and so we have a special offer for you. If you subscribe to our YouTube page or our audio podcast, we'll send you a special #TPFC discount code. To get our code, post a screenshot of your subscription in our Toilet Paper Fortune Cookie Facebook group, and we will DM you the code.
Thanks for watching, and now back to the show. 3, 2, 1. Nope, that was the wrong one.
Woo!
Oh, we're back!
That was fun.
Thanks to our sponsor, Knowledge Perk. That is Alice, one of my most special baby sisters.
Yes, she is.
Welcome to the show, Alice Geiger. It is awesome to have you here.
Hi, you guys.
Hi, Alice.
So Alice is here for a number of awesome reasons. One, she has a wealth of experience to share with us about musical theater, New York, restaurant business, and then pivoting, and then going all out into the true entrepreneurship space, which is having a child. The other reason she's here is that she's probably our biggest fan.
Ah,
Yes!
Without a doubt, after the first episode that Matt and I did, Alice was the first one that called and said, I have some thoughts. And is it okay if I share my thoughts with you? And if it's not, it's okay. But I listen to a ton of podcasts and I really want to tell you all the great things that you're doing and maybe some things that you should try. And so
Yeah.
you've been a great fan of the show to this point.
you're here.
For good reason. It's a
Thank
good
you,
show.
and welcome to the show. So let me read a little bit of a bio on you. Alice is classically trained in musical theater from high school through graduating from Shenandoah Conservatory of Music in Virginia. I knew I was going to get all that fluff.
That's it. Oh, it's perfect.
With a head full of steam, she moved to NYC to make it big, and like many aspiring actors and performers, picked up the restaurant gig and literally fell in love with the business. That is the business of restaurants. Her restaurant career spans 15 years, from being a maitre d' all the way to the assistant general manager of a global restaurant company, which is no joke.
Mhm.
Alice climbed to the top of the restaurant ladder, and just like a Broadway script, met a boy. And she got married, and now she's ready for her next entrepreneurial endeavor, which is her awesome 9-month-old little baby boy, Nolan D, who's really cool. Alice joins us today to talk about pivoting, restaurants, musical theater, and just podcasts in general a little bit, probably. And and lastly, and not leastly, you have said for a long time that you wanted to start your own business, and you've got an idea, and so we kind of want to hear about that idea. Maybe not the details of it, but maybe hear about how you want to start that. And who knows? Maybe we'll have you back on when you start that in 15 years.
And how you want to hire your friend Stocke.
Right.
Yeah.
Because for every show he's always asking for a job.
Yeah. These are COVID times.
Listen,
Nothing.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I am with you.
So Alice, welcome. So tell us a little bit about that journey you had from musical theater, getting to New York, and then really falling in love with the restaurant business. I distinctly remember talking to you in those early days, and you were like, I really like this. I really like being in the restaurant. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I actually started my restaurant career as an Apple buddy at Applebee's, a neighborhood bar and grill, when I was 15 years old and couldn't even drive a vehicle yet. And I used to get in trouble from mom and dad by picking up too many shifts during the week because I loved it. And I would say, I know the restaurant, like they really need me tonight. It's like, I kind of got to go in.
Didn't Dad have to go in once and talk to the manager, and the manager's like, "What? Alice keeps asking for all this."
Maybe. I don't remember, but I remained an Apple buddy all through college, going back and working, throughout, and then moved to NYC, put my blood, sweat, and tears into pounding the pavement and musical theater. And, back when I was first starting, you didn't, when you went to auditions, you didn't, sign up on some sort of website or however they do it now. You went to the audition studio at, 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. And one of the really super duper dedicated non-equity actors would have ripped out a notebook page and started a sign-in sheet, and that was the Bible for the entire day, and that would get handed to the audition, the person that's running the auditions. And monitor, yes, monitor. Ugh, I hate reliving those things, but it sucked. And you have to be dedicated. I mean, you've got to really be dedicated for that. It's hard. And when you go in, the girls and everybody's putting on makeup and curling their hair and warming up and showing off, and it's blah. So I found myself picking up more restaurant shifts because I liked making money. I'm a workhorse. I always have been, you know. And when I was offered a job, as you know, throughout the years of experience, offered a job as a manager at my favorite restaurant that I worked in ever in my life, and where I met all of my best friends, Angus McIndoe, which is on 44th Street, right slap in the middle of the theater district, across from the Phantom of the Opera. And the rest is history, basically. I came to the owner, Angus, and I said, you know, I have some ideas. Like, we need to figure out how to run this front of house better. This is just not working. You know, guests are coming in, and whatever the idea was. And he said, why don't you just be a manager? And I said, okay, sure. And that was it.
Quite a job
That was
interview for
basically it.
being the manager.
Also,
Yeah.
for our listeners right now, for those of us who have been living in Midtown for a long time, Angus McIndoe was a very popular hangout for folks in the industry. A lot of the people who were doing the producers, which was literally right on the other side of the wall from Angus
Yes.
McIndoe at the St. James Theater, turned the second floor and third floor, actually, of Angus
Yeah.
McIndoe into their own little personal den of fun.
It was a celebrity hotspot.
It was.
There is quite a number of celebs. There's a funny story when Jude Law used to come in. He was Hamlet on Broadway across the street. And the first time he came in for dinner pre-show, like 5:45 or something, to grab a bite, he came in and I was managing and running the door. And I said, hi, how are you? Table for one, absolutely, come on up. And I gave him a shitty table because he didn't have a reservation. And
Sorry, man.
I came downstairs and I was like, I feel like I went to college with that guy or something. I think I know him. And the servers were like, that's Jude Law. What are you doing?
I
He
think
was
I
at
went
a
to college
real
with
shitty
that guy.
table. That's literally what I said. I said, I recognize him from somewhere, but we were just so used to celebrities came in every night, all the time. So it was something that we were very used to seeing. And it just, I was busy. Make a reservation, Jude. Come on. But he came in after that very frequently before dinner, and we gave him a much nicer, much more private, cozy table so that, you know, he could enjoy his dinner without being stared at.
Amazing. So you continued on in New York at La Cole, and then eventually at John George, which I think was where I think you hit your stride in terms of the restaurant business. I mean, you were running that place. Remind me of the name again. It was the hotel connected to the hotel.
The Mark Hotel and the Mark Restaurant by Jean George. Yeah. The restaurant inside of that boutique, beautiful, amazing Upper East Side hotel.
Yeah, it's no joke. This is where that's where people go. Like the people who have the means, they go there.
Yes.
Not me.
We've had a bunch of really super famous, fun celebrities stay there, and they give you a grocery list of things that you go grocery shop for ahead of their arrival, and then it's all put into their room so that they don't have to go grocery shopping and whatnot. And all of that's a whole nother, it's very interesting. That's all in-room dining. And so when I worked there, I did the front of house restaurant, and I was also running the in-room dining, room service kitchen.
Yeah. And you were very dialed into the business aspects of it. It wasn't the surfacey stuff. You were doing inventory, you were doing HR, you were really you were really at the bedrock of the organization. What do you think that all of that industry is doing right now trying to navigate the scenario that we're in. I mean, when you think about not just the front of the house, but the back of the house, it's got to be daunting because kitchens are hot. And when generally you're in a hot kitchen, people sweat. And that's not a good thing for this whole situation. So,
well, I think it's just such a sad situation in general. Restaurants are, I think, now becoming less of a, oh, let's just pop on by to a restaurant, and more of a, wow, this is something that was so important to me and so important to my social life. And restaurants are more than just, oh, I don't feel like cooking. Restaurants are important pieces of people's lives, and it can be. And I think that in general, there's going to have to be a complete overload, increased efficiency across the board, protocols. I mean, there are already so many really important health, Serve Safe is a whole organization that does a certification process for anybody that's working in a restaurant, any manager, cooks, everyone. The health department does routine checks. There's a grading system for restaurants, and you're not allowed to have your doors open unless you have a certain, cleanliness standard and you pass the inspection. So, I think talking about back of house, there's going to be a complete overhaul in protocol. It's just going to have to be, it's going to be insane. Running a restaurant and dealing with the health department standards, dealing with, sick employees that want to work anyway, sick employees that hide it because they need to work. Oh, I don't feel good. Well, come in because I need you. We cannot run the restaurant without you. All of those things. That's difficult enough. Yeah. It's going to be hard. Yeah. It's going to be hard. And I think that, there's a whole list of obvious things that can be done using, more throwaway, utensils and menus and dishware, and then you have the whole environmental.
Oop, we lost your sound.
I'm here.
There you go. You're back. Okay, keep going. You're good.
Sorry, guys.
That's all right.
Yeah, so there's gonna have to be a tightening up of hygiene and all of those things. There's going to have to be a massive look at the where the money is going, labor versus all of that. It's a nightmare. I
would think like the restaurant business, or I mean like the music business, restaurant experience is now going to be a premium experience because you're going to have so many more costs built into it. I mean, if all of that stuff is just more and more built-in costs.
Alice,
you were going to say?
I can't wait for you to see what's happening here when you come into the city next and watch how these people are calling audibles and on the fly coming up with ideas with the health department. It's pretty badass if you'd see what they're doing. And up and down 9th Avenue.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's incredible. I think you, as somebody who knows both the front and the back of these businesses, first of all, somebody could use you right now. If being a mother wasn't the most important thing in the world, which of course it is. But it's really extraordinary to watch how these people have, to use Dave and our favorite word, pivoted. If you look up and down 9th Avenue right now, almost every single restaurant is open and they're all serving outside, and they've all created these outdoor deck areas in the bike lanes of 9th Avenue. And it's extraordinary what they're doing. And in talking to our friends who run these places, they have streamlined their bottom line so much and realized we don't need this. Yeah. Like our buddies who run Hibernia are just like, we realized that we could cut our weekly nut by a third like that.
Wow.
And moving forward, now that's not great to say there's 2 employees we no longer need, but they're like, there are 2 employees we no longer need. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the higher end places do it, how the places like the Mark and places like that, especially when all the high end clientele who come in and throw down $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 because that's what they need to meet their nut, as opposed to these places on 9th Avenue, which are already starting to get the volume to make it viable to be open. So it's going to be very interesting to see how, these middle of the road restaurants, I think, are going to do very well, especially through the summer where they can have this outdoor seating because people love it. You get there, you keep your mask on. As soon as you sit at your table, you can take your mask off because you're freaking outdoors. People love doing it. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't make anybody look at you and go, put on a mask.
Yeah.
No, it's what we're allowed to do right now. So it makes you feel very calm about doing it. It makes you feel very social. They're selling a lot of booze and they're moving. They streamlined all of their menu items. It's not 75 items anymore. It's like 12, and they're getting it out the door. So I can't wait for you to see how quickly these people have adapted to what they're doing. And I imagine if you were still running Angus, you guys would be doing the same thing. Like, this has to go, this has to go, this has to go. Here's how we need to restart our business right now, and here's the model to do it.
Yeah, I think I'm delayed a tiny bit, but I wish Angus was still open because God love it. I'd still be working there. Sadly, it closed a while ago, which is just, that was tough. But the restaurant that we have that's on the higher end of the spectrum, right in our neighborhood, it's called the Fox and Falcon. Big shout outs. They've taken over a section of the parking lot. They are really, they have built an entire, incredible atmosphere outside in the freaking parking lot, sitting with the lines of the parking spaces underneath you. And it's still a gourmet and high-end experience. And that takes a lot to do. Yeah. Especially when your server comes over and they're wearing a face shield, literally. And, they so much what a part of being a restaurant is, and working in a restaurant and running a restaurant is, kissing babies and, really socializing and getting to know the people that you're with, that are dining with you. And it's just, it's going to be interesting. It makes me think that the business is going to be forever changed in terms of, saving money, less waste. There's a whole discussion about eliminating tipping. I don't know if either of you have heard any of this. So eliminating the patrons from tipping, and all of the servers and the workers at the restaurant are paid an increased salary or an increased hourly wage, sort of gives much more stability to these people's jobs. It's similar to the theater business. You get a job at a restaurant, you don't know if the restaurant's going to do well, if it's going to thrive, if it's going to fail, if it's going to close next week, if people are going to stop going in, if you're going to fail your health inspection and close. You just never know. So that's an interesting that's an interesting thought of eliminating tips. And I think oh gosh, how can I not remember his name? Oh my gosh. I'll think of it in a second. Big restaurateur in New York.
Yeah.
Has already done that with his restaurants and hospitality, and believes that hospitality shouldn't come from trying to make money. It should come from inside of who you are. And so it's an interesting, a lot of time you can go to super fine dining, beautiful restaurants like at the Mark, and receive incredible service no matter who it's from. And you can go to a restaurant that is sectioned off by server, that the server has these tables and they're fighting over the tables, and a server will come up to you and greet you, and then somebody else comes over, and then you see them arguing in the back of whose table it is. And it sort of takes some of that, in my opinion, negative behavior out of running a restaurant, and pivoting it more towards hospitality.
Yeah, absolutely.
And less towards, I have to make money, I have to make rent, I have to, every night, if you get 2 tables and you make $25, so it's tough.
Cool. Tell us about your transition to the corporate catering that you did. The
Can't hear you.
All right.
Let me try to reload.
Let's pause.
Here I am.
There you go.
Sorry, guys.
We're in. No, we're good.
So let's transition to talk about the switch from the restaurant business, and then you went to a financial company, and tell us about sort of the pivot there, mostly because of the hours. I liked in your bio, you said you took 3 months off to sleep.
Literally. Yeah. So I got restaurant managers, at least where I worked for Jean-Georges for so long. My schedule was 12-hour shifts. So I was scheduled 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. or 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. And I would often stay later, not to mention you have to travel for an hour. So, your walk to the subway and then your subway ride and all of that. So 14 hours later on a solid, nothing goes wrong day, I was literally working like 75 hours a week. And if I was working the 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. shift, and I knew that Jean-Georges was coming in to the restaurant I was at that day, then I would stay. If he's coming in at 9, I'm staying. I'm staying to get some FaceTime with him and to say hello to him, even if it's, for 10 seconds, because I was convinced that I was going to run that company from top to bottom one day. So I put in the work, but
yeah, you may still, you never say never.
Stay tuned. Yeah. They are still, every single time I talk to, so my general manager at Mercer Kitchen, the most recent restaurant that I worked at, I still keep in touch with him. And every time I talk to him, he's like, "You want a job? You want a job? So it's tempting because I loved it so much, but it is hard work. So I took some time. So I'll never forget the day that I realized that I need to stop and take a break. Not to mention that I would go for like 5 days without seeing Jack awake, my husband. Literally, I was coming home while he was already in bed. And when he was getting up for work, that was like the middle of the night for me, because sometimes I would work until 3 or 4 in the morning. So it's insane. So I had a random Sunday off, which never happened. And I was hanging out with Eric and Peter, David, 2 of my best friends. And we were sitting on the couch, and it was 3 p.m. And they said, let's order a movie and order some takeout. Awesome. And before I knew it, it was like 11 p.m. I had a pillow from their bed, and I was all covered up with a comforter. And I woke up and I was like, what the heck? And they said, you just like fell asleep and we didn't want to wake you. So we called Jack to let him know that we were just going to let you sleep here. So we went and hung out and watched TV somewhere else so that you could get some rest. It was insane. And I was thinking, this is absurd. This is
Yeah.
insane. I'm literally falling asleep in the middle of, So I quit. I gave a month notice, which to me wasn't even scratching the surface of what I wanted to give. But I went to the Dominican Republic, had an incredible vacation, and I slept a lot.
Yeah. A lot. Nice. Fantastic. Well, hey, so let's talk about your business idea. And we understand that right now you've signed on to an entrepreneurial venture that's probably going to take you 12 years to complete before you sort of pop your head up, and then another 3 to 7 years before you really are, okay, I can actually do something about this business idea. So that's okay. So we got to think 17 years in the future.
Yes.
What is this business idea, and what do you want to do?
So when I worked at the French Culinary Institute, which is L'École, I took, during that time, I got my sommelier certification, and then I took a bunch of additional courses at the French Culinary Institute, food and wine pairing, wine, which I became obsessed with. And I got the opportunity
learning
to
about it,
fill
not
in
drinking it, right? Or both.
both. So don't get me wrong, I'm a boxed wine gal. I can put down some boxed wine. Yeah, a bang for your buck.
Which has gotten better and better over the years. They got some nice boxed wines out there.
Let me tell you something. It's good. It's good. It's
Michelle
to each his
agrees
own.
with you. Boxed wine is
100%. 100%. It's the way, when I introduce people to boxed wine, they're like, this is from a box? There's 4 bottles in the box? Like, oh yeah, baby. So when I was working there, I got the opportunity to fill in a couple of times for a class. So the culinary school, which was also, obviously beverage and all kinds of incredible courses that they offered to anybody who wanted to just come in on a Saturday and take a fun cooking class. They did a lot of corporate team building stuff. So your company would say, hey, we want to go to the French Culinary Institute. We want to treat our team to a fun night to learn how to cook, and then learn some things about wine, and then sit down and have a big team dinner together for the holidays. So I got the opportunity to fill in a few times to teach the wine portion of the class.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved it so much. I called Mom, David, afterwards, and I said, this is where my fire and passion is, because it's like being on stage, sort of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Speaking of being on stage, I don't know if you guys can hear, but my neighbors are singers, and they're amazing. And sometimes they sing very loudly, and I think they're getting revved up. So if you hear that, it's them. They're awesome.
Who are they?
Their names are Jordan and Tom. And they're not Broadway folk yet, but let me tell you, they have some. At Christmas time, they were singing some ditties that made me feel so warm and cozy up in here. They're awesome. But I just heard them, so if you hear it, that's what
awesome.
It's not Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was
not
so,
Jack. Jack and Nolan? Whoa, you guys really get
whoa, where is love? But it was just so much fun. And I find myself, when I know a lot about wine. And so when we're out or at a restaurant, or when we're, socializing, and somebody brings it up or brings up wine or asks a question and I get going, people find it very interesting to learn about wine. And I had that whole group, all of those groups, like right in the palm of my hand. And so my idea for my business is to bring that into either in a corporate setting, more, do that for more companies, more holiday parties or whatever, but really set that up in people's homes. So you pay my company to come in and do a wine party, and I'll hook up with a chef. We'll come in, the chef will cook dinner. I'll do a full wine pairing, and complete with a course about wine in general, how wine is made. People are always fascinated by that, you know, and then why each thing is paired with which food, and blind tastings are so much fun. And it just, I enjoy talking about it so much, and people really get into it, and it's fun. And I think that it would be so awesome. I would love it, you know, at a dinner party, and I'm sure it's being done, but you know, I want to get my hands in there. And
That's a great idea. I think there's going to be such a shift. I mean, I don't know, for the foreseeable future, there's going to be such a shift in how people want to socialize, and it makes a lot of sense. I mean, good Lord, if you think about something like where Patrick and Dag live, certainly in Montclair, in that area, where if you brought in your company to somebody's big ass backyard or really, really nice solarium, you know, and like,
that's right.
And like really did it right, people are going to, I think, feel a lot more secure or safe, you know, for whatever reason, to be like, we're doing this in-house, we're doing this with our people. It's going to be a controlled environment. You're going to know the people who are cooking your food, who are serving your wine, who are doing all that stuff.
That's right.
And they still have the means to do it, but just be like, now this is how we're gonna do this for now, you know, as opposed to we're gonna go rent someplace out or whatever, you know. That's right. Amazing idea. Amazing idea.
Yeah.
Here's what I think is going to happen, because I've been around the child entrepreneurship thing a round or two. You're going to hit like age 5 or 6, maybe probably 4, and there's going to be this wonderful thing that you're going to get into, which is called day school. And, and it's mommy's break time, you know, because there might be another Geiger somewhere. So you will have an opportunity, even during these child years, where you could start this for sure and not take anything away from family. And I challenge you to think about how you could start this now as a personality. A lot of that business is going to be done because of your personality, your process, the way you bring it. Even if you try to eventually try to expand it and have other people play that role of, I'm the educator, or I'm the entertainer, if you will, for the evening, or I'm your host for the evening, you'll have a certain way that you want to do that. You could start perfecting that now, really, even in an environment like this, where you begin to build your clientele up with the education, with this particular wine, with this particular meal, and send me a message, and I'll send you the recipe, you know, for that particular meal. And you know, there are so many little ways that you could begin building that foundation right now, to where when you are ready to give it more of your time, because you know it's just that development process with kids, you'll be 10 steps ahead, because you'll already have a clientele, you already have your base built. So
I mean, that the end goal would be to run the business and then hire, you know, to run the business from afar, and then
of course,
you know, hire people to do it, you know,
of course,
and getting in on, you know, some every once in a while. But again, this business would entail taking up weekends, taking up night, you know, Saturdays, Sundays, brunches, Friday nights, and so on and so forth. So it'll take some time, but I really, it's you know, working at the restaurant, and I wanted to scream through the live the other night when you were talking about how similar, when you were recapping the show, and how similar restaurants are to theater. And, when dinner shift starts, the curtain's up, and, your staff has to be polished looking, they have to be clean, their hair has to be done, they've got to be looking sharp, have all the tools that they need ready to go, memorize menus, specials, ingredients. And this is coming from the restaurants that I worked at mostly, which is more fine dining. And the more fine dining you get, the closer it becomes to, I think, being similar to the theater,
Yeah, and I know
there are just so many.
You observed that in what Val was talking about, the similarities
Yes.
between being a stage manager and being a manager, and you have to.
Oh my God,
you're
it's
doing
exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same. Dealing with the actors and dealing with the techies.
Yeah.
They're completely different human beings, generally speaking. And the back of house staff at a restaurant, the cooks, the dishwashers, all of those people are just as integral to the show as the front of house to the actors, the people that are talking to the guests and that are out on the floor and walking around, at restaurants. And I think this is hopefully going to become more of the norm, and I think it already is that restaurants are entertainment. You pay money to go to a concert, or you pay money to go out to a show or to go to the movies, where you are entertained. And going to a restaurant, again, like I said, it's becoming less of, oh, I just don't feel like cooking, let's just swing by, blah, blah, blah. You're going for an evening of entertainment.
Yeah.
You're going for an evening of entertainment, from people watching to, socializing, to meeting the man of your dreams, to meeting a new group of friends, to saying, I'm never going to that restaurant again, and having an amazing memory with your family. It's just, and so hopefully that will become part of patrons' brains when they go. Prices are going to have to be increased. If they go to no tipping, prices are going to have to be increased across the board. And I think, it's something interesting to think about,
And Alice, you in continuing the analogy of putting on a performance in a restaurant and a theater, the two are so inextricably linked in New York. What do you do? You go to dinner and you go to a show, or you go to a show and you go to a restaurant afterwards.
Yeah.
And there's going to be so many adjustments, and certainly Broadway hasn't even begun to scratch the surface of how we are going to have to adjust to get people back in these buildings. But likewise, all the restaurants in Midtown, they have to adjust their way of doing things as well. Because frankly, and this is something that I brought up, early on about how Broadway is going to have to change, it was too expensive. And I don't know how they're going to change the business model, but it was too damn expensive. For most people, it was out of their reach. And I remember talking to Patrick one time, brought the boys in to see Lion King, and also brought some of the neighborhood kids in. And by the time you buy 5 tickets to a Broadway show, you park your car, you take everybody out for dinner, we're talking over $1,000. We're talking $1,200 to come in for a night of entertainment.
You get a beverage, one beverage,
and
then you get all the kids the Lion King cups, and
$1,000, and
so much.
And even if it was just you and your boyfriend or your husband or your wife going out for a night, you're going to spend close to $400 on tickets, because as everybody knows, even those of us in the shows don't get free tickets. It's all house seats.
That's right.
They're all $189, whether you like it or not. We can't get anything less than that. So there's $400 on tickets. And then even if you went to Angus, which was not overpriced, but you're going to spend $90 on dinner, and that's just with a salad, a sandwich, and a couple glasses of wine. It's going to be $90 or $100. So you're already talking $500 or $600 for 2 people to go out for a night. And
Man.
It can't be that. That's not a very broad spectrum of people who are going to be able to do that. So I think there's a lot of ways that they're going to have to make it not necessarily more affordable, because you're right. The margins are going to have to go up for a while because they're not going to have the clientele. But you're going to rely a lot more on your service, on the same way that you do with a theatrical production. Your reviews are everything. Your reviews at the restaurant are everything.
So can I break in for one just quick second on sort of that model? You were clearly outlining the cost that it takes to go to a Broadway show. And what jumped into my mind is, okay, so that's not for the New Yorker who lives, or New Jersey, or who lives there and wants to go into the city to take in a show. That's for the tourist that has already said, look, I'm going to New York. I'm gonna buy an $800 plane ticket. I'm gonna stay in a 300-night hotel room. We're gonna go see a show. I've already decided I'm dropping $5,000 on this weekend because it's out of the sight. I get to see Hamilton. So is it sort of like, does there need to be a split between Disney, right? You don't go to Disney World to go to dinner and see a parade. You go to Disney World to stay and to have a vacation, and you're going to spend $5,000, right? So I'm wondering if there needs to be a model where it splits off to where it's more accessible. And I don't even know how you do this. It's more accessible to those that truly want the entertainment to go into the city, because I live in New Jersey and I want to get on the train, and I'm making stuff up because I don't live in New Jersey. I have no idea what I'm actually talking about. But
You get on a train or a boat, and you come across.
I've been there enough.
No, David, you're right. I see what you mean. I think that New Yorkers, even poor New Yorkers, go to the theater more often than you think.
Yeah.
And Jack and I used to go to the theater 3 times a year, birthdays, holidays, and every once in a while, there's all kinds of ticketing sites and discounts and all kinds of stuff that you can find where you can make it work. And then there's a whole group of people also that will spend $89 or $67 to sit in the very, 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 very back 3 times a week and go to a gay bar in wherever that gives free hot dogs, 2 for 1s for happy hour, free hot dogs and popcorn, have dinner, and then you pop over twice a week and spend $65 to sit in a beautiful theater and experience the magic of Broadway and completely take yourself away from everything that's going on in your world. And that's a very important piece of people's a whole different group of people.
The tri-state crowd unfortunately doesn't sustain the long running shows. So things like shows that have been running for 10, 15 years, it's not the tri-state crowd. The tri-state crowd goes and sees the new shows. So because we're the first ones who are able to get tickets, we're the first ones who are part of the review system. It's not the tourists wait a little while, unless it's a slam dunk like Hamilton or something, or something like that. But they have to wait for the word of mouth to get out, so that the people from the group sales are what keep Broadway alive. So it's going to be very difficult to see how that works moving forward about group sales. How many groups are going to be coming to New York for the next year? We don't know. But Alice is exactly right. Those of us who live here, you find cheap tickets. You go see previews where they paper the house. You go, you have people who work for TDF. You have my buddy who works for TKTS booth. So I can bypass the line and get $65 tickets if I want to go see that. The New Yorkers are not the ones you're worried about, because I also will go to my local bar and have a hamburger and a beer, and it only costs me like $20. Then I go to see a show. So we're not the problem. We're going to be here. We're already here. The next level up, which is outside of the tri-state area, is where somebody like Alice really knows how that works, because that's that's the restaurant clientele. That's the high end restaurant clientele. They come in and they don't mind throwing $500 down on dinner. They have it, you know, and then they don't mind spending $800 on tickets. They have it.
So I guess I challenge you back to then why does the model need to change? I mean, if and I didn't mean to convey that there was any kind of problem here. I picked up on the conversation that, hey, the way this is structured is not, maybe it's just equitable across the board. So what has to change? I mean, if it works, it works.
I mean, it has been working. Broadway's been making billions of dollars a year. I mean, Broadway brings more money into New York than any other industry. But moving forward, we don't know what the volume is going to be. It's always been volume.
Right.
People, like millions and millions and millions of people here. So in the immediate future, and Alice knows this, especially in the restaurant industry, like we've been talking about, you have to change the immediate model right now to just be viable, to stay.
Right.
That's right.
Right. Okay.
You have to get butts in seats.
Right now. Right
Okay.
now. And now you can get butts in seats outdoors in restaurants. Eventually, if we keep doing things right here in New York, you'll get butts in seats inside restaurants, and then eventually get butts in seats in indoor venues when they make it safe. Now, it's probably going to be the better part of the next year, but trust me, these people are figuring out shit because they're not going to let it die. It's not going. So it's going to be difficult, but there are a lot of smart people. I've worked with a lot of them. Alice has worked with a lot of them, and they're figuring it out. I mean, just seeing what's happened in 4 months, if you'd have told me when this thing started on March 13th that we'd be where we are right now in New York with veritable no COVID cases, and every restaurant.
Oh my God.
And every restaurant on 9th Avenue is basically open, I would not have believed it in any way, shape, or form. So smart people are working on it.
Well,
Jack
and
and
look,
I basically,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, Jack and I basically said sayonara to our beautiful Fox and Falcon restaurant here in our neighborhood. Just our haven, our spot that we took our son when he was a month old and had dinner together for the first time as a couple. I mean, restaurants are so important. And I you know, we were basically like, it's how is it going to survive? There's no way is it going to reopen this year? Yeah. I don't know about that, you know? So things are moving along, and it's going to take a lot of work, but you know, think of this. This is an interesting thought. Just think of this small thing. So I was thinking about this. So at a fine dining restaurant, when you have rolled up silverware at your place setting, before it gets to you, it is bussed off of the previous table. Then it goes into the dishwasher, right? And then the dishwasher, one human being, touches it, takes it out of the dishwasher, siphons through it, runs it again if need be, takes it out, and then another person, you know, somebody back of house, takes it all out and sorts it and puts it in bins. So now they're touching the silverware. And then another person takes it to polish it. So now we're up to 3 human beings now. So a polisher could be somebody back of house. It could be the server. Then the server takes the silverware. Now you've got another human being who's rolling it into the napkin together. And then another human being, so we're up to 5, is putting it on the tables. And then the hostess comes over, the host, and says, "Oh, you're only a party of 3. This is set for 4. Let me take this roll up away." So now they have touched it, and they touched the other person's coats, 29 billion coats. And they took their stroller from their sweaty baby and put it in the coat room and touched like 10 doorknobs.
Why is the
so
baby
now
sweaty?
Yeah, why is the baby sweaty?
Why is there a sweaty
babies
baby?
Listen, people are sweaty, guys. People are sweaty. And then they take the roll up and they put it back at the server station. And then another server comes along and picks it up to reset their table. And now we have like 40 trillion humans that are touching one roll-up silverware before that napkin hits your face.
So I'm bringing a napkin and my own silverware from here on out.
So that's just a tiny piece of the massive amount of work that the restaurateurs and the management and the health department and the staff. And restaurant people in the restaurant industry are some of the hardest working human beings on the face of the planet.
Absolutely.
There's some statistic where a typical restaurant server walks 7 miles during one shift.
Sounds right.
Believe it.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And if you work at a place like Angus there were 3 floors. So the food runners,
Straight up and down.
up and down 3 floors. I mean, that's a lot. And so I
they weren't allowed to take the elevator.
I got stuck in that elevator once.
Yeah, that was a creepy elevator.
I got stuck in that elevator once with a group of elderly people, and it was one of the worst and most proud moments of my life because I was pretty scared, and I was able to keep it together for those people. Anyway,
well,
so I have no doubt that things are going to be figured out, and that smart, intelligent people like Jean-Georges and the people that are running his company across the board are going to figure out. I mean, it's going to get done. It has to get done. People have to. It's like 15 million people in in New York or some statistic that have lost all their jobs because restaurants don't exist.
Well, there's 10,000 restaurants in New York. 10,000.
Yeah,
God,
insane.
So times 15 people at a minimum. So.
Well, I can't wait to come out to Jersey and go to this fancy place that you guys go to. Let's go sit in the parking lot.
So great.
Let's do it.
Oh, it's
Sounds
so
good.
nice.
I'm going to start traveling.
It's hot as.
I know. It's beautiful
nice.
today. I got to go up on the
It's
roof because it's so freaking beautiful.
Yeah.
So I think this is a perfect place to wind the show up. Alice, thank you very much. This has been a great conversation about restaurants and about your experience, and really fun and engaging. And Broadway, we brought Broadway into it, which I knew we would. All right, so thank you very much for tuning in. That is Toilet Paper Fortune Cookie, episode 13. Join us. I think this will be our last live this Friday after this airs. That's in 2 weeks of when we're recording it, but you don't need to know that. And thank you for joining in. Subscribe. Wow. Matt Stocke, thank you very much.
You too, David.
Sister, thank you very much. That was awesome. We really appreciate having you on. Listen, people, go and buy that Knowledge Per Coffee online. It is good.
Thank you.
It's good.
I think it is.
It's
good.
I think
it is. Yeah.
It really is. I wouldn't
Ryan
say
Sanderson
that if I
knows a
didn't
thing
think
or two. Yeah.
Yeah.
And his partner Jonathan Taylor. They know a thing or two about coffee. So
it's yummy.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.
Have a great week.